I've been doing this series about the power of awareness, the power of basically the technology of our own awareness. And we've been exploring ancient teachings and trying to get a handle on how there could have been previous civilizations or inventions and things that we often take for granted but are amazing signs of ingenuity, such as the fact that people survived for tens of thousands of years living outside using basically simple tools apparently, but whatever they did, they were very smart because their system worked. And they found their food, they found, okay, these are the tools that work and we're going to keep using them. And they were very successful, otherwise we wouldn't even be here, you know. But in that whole process of exploring awareness, I've been thinking about what is natural awareness? What is normal? As a human being, the technology that we have, our own awareness, what can we do with it? Because typically, if you look around, most of us, it's very easy. We spend a lot of our day in just a lot of distractions, not much thinking really about what we're doing here, or who we are, or what's going to happen. So, there are teachings from long ago, basically very simple teachings, that people who had time on their hands some of them became what they call shamans. They learned how to deal with energy, and I think it was probably very common actually, because people have to learn, you know, families are close units. If you're living outside, people communicate. They teach their sons and daughters, well, this is how you do it. This is how you relate to spirit, for example. So the technology that geniuses of long ago could have had was just their own mental attention and the ability to perceive within themselves and their environment so that they could successfully adapt, get their food and housing, and basically succeed. And it was an act of genius. Now, they had to have some tools, and some of them have been exploring some very simple tools. One of course, is the use of the human mind, the perception, and the way that we, in a quiet state, if you imagine most of us, a lot of people live in cities, and there's all kinds of distractions, and even when there's no distractions, we go out in the country, we sit there, and our own mind is chattering away and talking and everything. And how often do we just sit quietly? Now, people had a chance to do that for a very long time, such as in the mountains and places. They get their food, they live simply, but they have lots of time to develop awareness. And some of them did that. Now, among other things, all our geniuses, all our products that we make, whatever we call civilization, come from our own attention. They come from our own genius as human beings. So we have to look at our own technology that we have, our body, our mind, our emotional makeup, and look at that as a start. Now, there have been some very interesting technologies that I love to explore that have been around for a really, really long time. We still use them today all around the world, and one of them is fire, basic fire, and another one is domestic animals. I mean, we still use them today for food, transportation, making some connection with the plants and the animals was genius for people who lived a long time ago. They found the ways to even transport themselves. Sailing ships, another one, still being used to sail. Celestial navigation, So celestial navigation and things like that, there's a lot of things like that actually. The science of plants, people have used plants for thousands of years for all kinds of stuff. They've made glues out of them, they've made medicines, they've made poisons, they've made food. all kinds of stuff. They've used plants for housing. I mean, if you think about what nature produces and you say, well, that's our factory, we're going to harvest from nature. Obviously, there's something to that because we wouldn't be here. Our culture that we've created with our great genius is very destructive. I mean, honestly, I mean, we have to admit. I mean, look, this doesn't take much observation at all. And so, getting back to the main subject of what is a baseline of human experience, okay, and my contention is, and this is something that's been written about for a long, long time, just to try to slow that tendency of our awareness to perceive stillness. To perceive stillness, because stillness is existing all around us. Within nature, within all the substances, there's a stillness and a balance, otherwise they would self-destruct. Like a hydrogen stays. I mean, hydrogen is volatile, perhaps. But there are substances that are incredibly stable. And for us as human beings to perceive stillness, yes, we see all the emotion and study the emotion and all that, but if we don't have a reference point of stillness, we're going to get very, very confused. Now, this is, like I said, not a new subject. It's been discussed for a very, very long time, and there are teachings about this that aren't practiced very much these days. But the practical matter is, there's a question that was posed to a man, yogi from India named Vivekananda. I may paraphrase it exactly, but he was asked, what is the use of this information, this knowledge, that what you're teaching? And he said, first of all, it will make us very clear. And in addition, it will make us content. And it's a practical thing. Learning to have a reference point of stillness. And that's what we have to go on as a baseline. Now, everything else is a distraction. So how can we read something like that and train ourselves to just relax into a moment? And that way we can begin to answer some of these ancient questions of what is genius and what is intelligence and what is normal and what is the power, the technology of our awareness that is the most important thing but often so overlooked. And there's going to be some other videos. I'm going to explore some of the basic technology. One thing I'm really researching now is a bow and arrow. Fascinating. There's still people using the bows. They're in the Olympics. I mean, there's just a fascination with that very simple tool. And it's been around for a really, really long time. And there have been some amazing ancient bows and arrows that were made using bone and sinew and various kinds of wood and all kinds of stuff. So we're going to explore some of those in our next